Hey guys, I'm Joe Griffin. I'm an avid turkey hunter, and today we're going to go over 3 types of popular turkey calls, how to use them, and when to use them. So the first call we're going to talk about today is the box call. Basically what this is a box, a lid, which is essentially your striker. A lot of them have a spring in here which kind of amplifies that sound and resonates it a little bit more. It's screwed in right here with another spring that kind of keeps the whole thing together. They're typically made out of wood. They're super simple to use. It's kind of a one-trick pony in the sense where it's basically used for cutting and yelping. It's not as multi-dimensional as a slate or a mouth call. It's also the easiest to pick up and learn. So if you're new to turkey hunting or you've got 1 or 2 seasons under your belt, this is a great option to have. It's also the loudest call in comparison to slates and diaphragms. So with a box call, typically the box side is held in your weak hand, so for me, my left, and then the striker or the lid is ran with your right hand. Basically, the weight of the lid against the inside corner of this call is what makes the sound. It's super simple. Some guys will run it the opposite direction and they'll run it with their fingertips like this. Some guys move the box. So there's not really a right or a wrong way to do it. It's a pretty simple construction as long as you can get that smooth motion and whatever feels the most comfortable for you. If it sounds good, run it. So one disadvantage to these though is they take 2 hands to operate. They require a decent amount of movement, and this is not giving you a free hand to have on your guns. Turkeys have an extremely keen sense of vision. It's 270 degrees and they see in a different color spectrum than we do. Obviously, movement is not a friend of yours when you're calling in a turkey close. So the times that I do use this call are on super windy days when I need to cut that sound through the wind, or if I'm getting into a fresh block of woods that I've never hunted before, it's a big block, never scouted it. This will really kind of broadcast out those calls that I can hopefully get a response gobble with. So the second call that we're going to talk about today is the slate call, or the pot and striker. It's one of my favorite calls. It's extremely versatile. You can get loud, you can yelp on it, you can get way down and purr, you can cluck, you can do about everything on a slate. Typically how they're built is a wood pot or a plastic pot, a striker, they can have a plastic tip sometimes, a bed of slate or aluminum. They're built a bunch of different ways to achieve different sounds. The thing that's super awesome about these is they're extremely versatile. I can get loud and cut and do some big yelps on this. I can get way down low doing some purrs and some really soft kind of finesse stuff to get that bird to come in the last 20 yards to shoot him. So the proper way to run a slate call, hold the pot in your off hand, and then your striker hand, you almost kind of hold this like a pencil, like you were to write something. And the angle is about like that, if you can see that. And you're drawing for yelps, kind of an oval, a really sharp oval. The base of your hand is stationary and it's all in your fingers. To cut on it is basically just straight lines down that are a little bit more abrasive. And then to purr is that same movement as you were to cut, but a lot less pressure on the slate, and you're just dragging it across. So like I said before, this is one of the most versatile calls you can have in your bag. You can get super high with some big yelps. You can get down really low into some nice little purrs. Super soft kind of finesse stuff. You can cut on it. You can do a little bit of everything with this call. So one thing that's nice about this is it's kind of the intermediate call between the diaphragm and the box, where this is a little bit easier to get some of those more finessing sounds like a purr. It's easier to purr on this call than a diaphragm for most people. And you can get super soft and kind of finessey with that sound too. So these calls take a little bit of maintenance, and depending on the surface is going to depend on how you maintain it. So this one takes a little square Brillo pad. Basically you just rub the edge of this call all in one direction across the slate, and when you call, you're calling against that abrasion that you just added to the call. Same thing with an aluminum top call. You would take 120 sandpaper, rub that off in one direction, and the abrasion from the striker against those lines is what gives you that good clean sound. They take a little bit more maintenance, but they're an extremely versatile call and they're something you need to have in your bag. So like the box call, this still takes 2 hands to operate, which is a downfall obviously when you're trying to shoot a bird. It also provides a little bit of visual movement, not quite as much as the box call, but as you can see, doesn't seem like a whole lot, but when a bird is coming in looking for a hen and it's trying to find any visual movement it can, So definitely make sure if you're gonna try to finish a bird with this and you're the shooter, either be in a blind or have really good concealment so you can set the call down, pick up your gun and make the shot. So one downfall with this call is it's extremely affected by weather. So even on a super humid day, say you're hunting in late May, this surface will get kind of dark, and that's just from the humidity building up on this call. And what that does is kind of dulls down your sound. It makes it a little bit quieter. It's not as sharp. It doesn't sound nasally like a hen when she's yelping. So if you get rain on this call, or if dew is dripping down, you'll see it, spots are landing on this thing and they kind of spread like it's landing on a paper towel. As moisture builds up on this call, it kind of gums up the sanded parts on this and almost renders the call useless. It'll dull down the tone. You'll be halfway through a yelp and hit a dead spot in the call where mid-note, the air just goes dead. It sounds extremely unnatural when it's wet. So the third call we're talking about today is the diaphragm call. And basically what this is a piece of tape, some latex, and an aluminum frame in the middle, all stamped together. So these calls come in a ton of different variations of latex stretch, the amount of reeds that are in there, the type of cut that is put into the reeds. It could be a diamond cut, it could be a half reed, it can be a 3 reed. There's tons of different options for this, and you basically have to buy a bunch and try which one fits for you. The biggest thing that I like about this call is it's kind of the jack of all trades. You can get soft and quiet to finish a bird on it. You can get really hard and yelp and cut and fire up a bird. You can change I call it the temperature of a bird. So if a hen is super aggravated and she's doing an assembly yelp, you can really bark up with her and piss that hen off, essentially. You can go all the way back down to the other end of the spectrum, and that can all happen with one little $5 call. Ton of range, super cheap, just takes some learning. So diaphragms allow for the widest array of calling ability as far as turkey vocalizations go. They also give you the most opportunity to adjust that volume up and down. Probably the biggest benefit to a diaphragm, it is 100% hands-free. So this goes in your mouth, your hands are free to either back yourself up with another call, adding a little bit more dimension to it, or be anchored into your gun ready to go. This is the best call for finishing a bird. So being hands-free is huge when you're calling by yourself. If you don't have a caller behind you and you're ready to anchored into your gun for that bird to come in, this is a great option. So this is probably the most difficult call to learn and master, but it's also super easy to just keep in your truck and practice throughout the day while you're driving. So if you watch a turkey calling in the woods, a hen, when she calls, when she yelps, she's opening her mouth and closing it with each note, and you have to basically visualize and do that yourself. If you look at it on a sound bar, there's a defined start and stop to this call, and the same thing is with our diaphragms. This goes into the roof of your mouth, and then there's tongue pressure that's applied to the latex in the reed here, and when you push up and you're yelping, you're kind of dropping your jaw as you're yelping, you're closing each note off. It's very start and stop. So a yelp essentially sounds like this. It's a defined start and stop. The air isn't coming from your mouth. It's just like any other game call that you would do. There's some diaphragm involved with it. So you're drawing air from kind of down in your gut, and you're giving a little bit of voice inflection. It sounds kind of weird to do without a call, but that's what it is. You're kind of popping air through and then stopping it by closing your mouth, just like a hen would stop it by closing her beak. You're not doing that vocalization with your voice. You're letting the reed create the voice, but you're giving the depth and the voice inflection from your stomach and from your diaphragm, pushing it up through your larynx and then essentially through your mouth, cutting it off like a beak of a turkey with each yelp. So once you have these skills kind of down, one thing that I like to do is take a mouth call and then mix it with one of the other calls that we've talked about, especially a slate. You can kind of get a wider dimension and sound like multiple birds going off at once. That kind of gives more of the picture of this is a bigger flock of birds here, and when I'm hunting a corner or something like that where I'm trying to draw birds into a spot they wouldn't naturally be, that's a tool that I use a ton. So these are the 3 most popular types of turkey calls, and they all have their pros and cons. They all come into play in different applications. It's important to really get good at all of them, in my opinion, because there's a time and a place for all of them. The more that you have in your skill set, the better off you are in the woods. I hope this helps along with your turkey calling and which calls to select. If you want to follow along with me on my season, I'm Joe M. Griffin on Instagram. Good luck this spring.